My video for April the 5th, 2018 is entitled, Returning to a Monopolar World. I get channeled messages all the time. I resonate with some of them, but certainly not all. Yesterday I got one that said we are returning to a monopolar world. I chuckled. To me, that would mean a non-physical world. You see, physicality requires polarity. The challenges we face are not caused by polarity, but by polarization. Perhaps some may not know the difference. Atoms are the building blocks in the physical world, and they all have positive and negative charges, plus a neutral part called neutrons. Protons, the positive part, and the neutron make up the nucleus with negatively charged electrons circling that. Flat Earth proponents may disagree and claim some other arrangement, but this is what we were taught, at least I was. Therefore, I'm not so sure I want to live in a monopolar world. I don't have a problem with experiencing or expressing in a physical form, only that the world seems to be run by insane lunatics. Something threw everything out of balance, creating polarization. There does not have to be a war between protons and electrons. There can be balance and harmony. To me, that's the ideal world, unlike one in which electrons no longer exist. Yeah, I did chuckle when I read that message, and it's one of the messengers that I read all the time. I mean, it's an individual that lives out in the western part of the United States, and I really have appreciated his messages over the years. They're always optimistic and always present a hopeful picture of what our future may look like. And as I indicated in the blurb, there are flat earthers that do not see a polarized world or something. I don't know how they describe it, but they don't necessarily see the earth rotating around a sun, and they don't see a globe of balls, whatever, all the planets being balls, and the sun being a ball of light. They have a completely different perception of what reality is. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but I don't resonate with it. That's what I am saying. It doesn't fit based on what I have learned and experienced, and especially the inner earth revelations that I've talked about in other videos. But how is our world made? And is physicality the problem? Are we supposed to just be phantoms, ghosts, spirits that have no form? Maybe that's the problem, that spirits don't know how to relate to form. And is the neutron the God particle? I'm asking questions. I'm not trying to give you answers. These are some of the questions that are generated in that concept of a monopolar world or a non-polarized world. Now, polarization is when there's the clash of opposites. That's when they are competing with each other instead of working in harmony and in conjunction so that they create good and not evil. And again, evil is just live backwards. It's everything is inside out and upside down. How many times do I have to keep saying that? We live in a world where something has been inverted. Something has been allowed to manipulate our reality, certainly our experience. And that manipulation has thrown everything out of balance because it's not love. It's not live. It's evil. And we have to get back to love. That's the message that I keep putting forth, not just to you that may listen to this, but to the creator, the neutron particle, and say, you can't be neutral. You can't choose to allow one side to dominate the other. You have to allow harmony to come. That's what love does. Love brings together in a harmonious whole. But we don't have a harmonious whole. We have a polarized experience. And the world is divided into multiple warring camps, not just two, but multiple, with the electrons constantly fighting the nucleus. Now, I'm using that as an analogy. I don't believe that that's really what happens, but that seems to be what happens with sentient beings that we call man or man-like or human or I don't know. I don't know what's the difference between an angel and a demon. Maybe they're both the same thing. One is just pushing for a darker agenda and the other a lighter agenda. And light, of course, has to do with weight and with visibility. All these things go through my head. Am I the only one that wrestles with the purpose of life and the reality or illusion of existence? Now, I've said many times, it's not an illusion. We may be deluded by the experience. We may be deluded by that which we have to interact with on our physical plane. But it's not an illusion. It is what we're dealing with at this moment in time. And they say time is also an illusion. Well, I would disagree with that too, because time is merely the sequencing of events that allow us to experience what we call life. Without time, there can be no sequence and there can be no experience. Nothing can actually exist there. That's the way I perceive it. Now, I know there are people that proclaim something completely different. And what's the reality? What do you think? Where do you come out in this? Do you think about it at all? Or do you just spend your whole life doing the best you can and not questioning the deeper meaning of things like I do? And I'm sure there are many like me that also question. I want to see and experience a world that works. A world that works in harmony. I want to see a God and experience a God that actually loves creation, not separate from creation, that doesn't care and is neutral, but that actually is involved in the creative process and brings things into balance and harmony and eradicates, really it needs to be eradicated, that which promotes the disharmony, whatever that is, Lucifer, Satan, the devil, whatever name you want to put on it, that which creates the disharmony has to be sequestered and put in a place where it can no longer interfere, or in my opinion, it shouldn't even be allowed to exist, period. Because it doesn't create anything good. It only creates disharmony and disruption of a natural flow of life. Anyway, folks, these are the questions that I wrestle with today. And I will be wrestling with them again tomorrow and probably the next day too, until a real change happens. And I hope it happens soon. Thank you for listening, and namaste.